What is your message to Zelensky when he comes to the Capitol on Thursday? He wants more money from Congress. He claims that it's, he says it's very important to stopping the war in Ukraine. What message does it send that so many conservatives are opposed to more money for Ukraine?
The first thing I'll tell you is there's no money in the House right now for Ukraine. There's just not. It's not there.
You mean there's no support for money?
No. And to be blunt, we're running a $2 trillion deficit. Any money we give to Ukraine, we're borrowing from our future. That's the facts. Those are the truth. You feel how you want to feel about it. I'm here to tell you what's right and what's real. Look, it's not a good time for him to be here, quite frankly. That's just the reality. And the third piece is what's happened with Ukraine is frankly the fault of leadership of Joe Biden. Let's be very clear of that. So don't put that on the backs of the American people now. If we had a commander-in-chief who knew how to lead as opposed to take naps, then we would be in a much better situation when it comes to Ukraine and global security for that.
So, and just to put this in like a finer perspective here, the amount of money that we are spending right now on this conflict, if you're wondering like, where's the money going to Maui? Where's the money going, $700 going to families in Maui right now? Ukraine's conflict spending is $100 million per day from the United States. $100 million per day.
I mean, that's up 100% because we know that in 2014 and 2015, the International Monetary Fund was warning Ukraine, stop spending $1 million per day bombing the Donbass. It's not a good use of your money. It's not a good use of our money because we're lending it to you. So if you want to keep borrowing from the IMF, you must stop spending $1 million per day on this war. Well, again, now they're up 100%.
We've been spending billions of dollars in Ukraine since 2014. So it is not just the past year and a half. It's all of the money that's been preemptive to bring us into war. But we're too cautious, according to Sean Penn.
It's my absolute feeling that the caution with which the United States has pledged support, which seemed in my reading of February 2022, was like a lean on in the fear of nuclear conflict. Something I think all of us should look very carefully at and understand that, of course, is possible, and that's to be concerning. The likelihood is extremely low, and as one of our witnesses in the film says, are we going to let a gangster with nuclear weapons dictate the way we live?
Yeah. Which gangster are we talking about here?
Yeah, he didn't mention Biden, but I assume he's talking about Putin. And meanwhile, to what Natalie was just talking about, back in Ukraine, video over the past 24 hours shows, once again, showing military recruiters grabbing men off the streets, forcing them to go onto the front lines in order to be killed by NATO. Here's a new recruit, clearly happy that he was just walking down the street when these thugs grabbed him and threw him into a wagon. Put him in there. You're going to war. NATO needs you. The few, the proud.
We need our bonus.
We need our NATO soldiers.
We got to hit our numbers. So I'm 16. Oh, well, that's okay.
And then last night at a bus stop, a man waiting for a bus, when a different mode of transport showed up to throw him into the meat grinder, you can hear the Ukrainian men actually yelling, hey, these people are worse than Russians, he says.
Стояв на зупинці, б'ють, пакують.
They got him when he tries to run away. You're going to war when NATO needs you. It's amazing. I wonder if they showed this on 60 Minutes.
If I were to wax poetic about the sentiment going through Zelensky's mind right now, if I thought he were an empathetic being, I might say he's really worried about his soul review in the afterlife, having dragged all of these men to their premature death. That's how I would narrate that, Scott Pelley.
No, but instead it was, as we were setting up the interview, the former actor used his talent to mask the strain. He smiled at a compliment to his wife And then instantly he seemed pulled beneath a depth that no one can know. We don't know what he was thinking. It looked like empathy for the lost and for those who might be saved.
I know
who the
how
hell wrote
everyone
that?
can be saved right now with peace talks. Right now. That's all you have to do. End the interview and go to peace talks. Well, here's some cliff notes about that. Zelensky has been involved in terrorizing people in the Donbass since the Maidan coup, supported by the West. And Ukraine was told in 2014 to stop spending $1 million per day to terrorize people in your own country. That has continued. Once Russia moved in to make it stop, Ukraine acted like the innocents that had never been firing on anybody. We don't understand where this came from. And now we have Zelensky to prop up as the good guy, to pretend that there's not blood on their hands. Russia's holding the line for those people who voted to become a part of Russia in order to stop being terrorized by Ukraine. If Russia pulls those men away, those people go back to being terrorized as part of Ukraine's borders. So Ukraine is throwing innocent lives at that wall, knowing that it will not change. We've shown you the borderlines many times. It has not moved one single bit. So why are those men being dragged to their death? That's what you should tell your brother-in-law.
Coming out and saying, admitting what we've been saying here for, a year and a half or longer, that this war, when they say, oh, this is a, unprovoked war in Ukraine, that was a total lie. Of course, this has been going on since 2014, and the genocide that's been happening in the Donbass has been happening since 2014. Let's not forget that. So Jens Stoltenberg comes out and admits, finally, that this war is not unprovoked, and the whole reason that this war started is because of NATO's aggression and enlargement. Watch.
President Putin declared in the autumn of 2021, and he actually sent a draft treaty that he wanted NATO
how to prevent war?
To promise no more NATO enlargement.
Oh, you mean that would have prevented the war?
What he sent us.
Oh, okay.
And that was a precondition for not invade Ukraine.
Oh.
Of course, we didn't sign that.
Of course not.
Opposite happened. He wanted us to sign a promise never to enlarge NATO. He wanted us to remove our military infrastructure in all allies that have joined NATO since 1997, meaning half of NATO, all the Central and Eastern Europe. We should remove NATO from that part of our alliance, introducing some kind of E and B or second-class membership. We rejected that. So he went to war to prevent more NATO close to his borders. He has got the exact opposite. He has got more NATO presence in the eastern part of the alliance, and he has also seen that Finland has already joined the alliance, and Sweden will soon be a full member. This is good for the Nordic countries, it's good for Finland and Sweden, and it's also good for NATO, and it demonstrates that when President Putin invaded a European country to prevent more NATO, he's getting the exact opposite.
Do you understand the logic there?
We provoked him, but
he offered a draft of, we will not do that if you don't expand NATO to our doorstep, which is, by the way, what Bill Clinton had agreed to, which is what the charter in place has been since the 1950s, that it would not enlarge to their doorstep. So you violate that, and you continue on in violation of the agreement that you had, and right up to their doorstep. Again, just think for a second. If Russia had military bases in Mexico, in Canada, and they just kept moving closer and closer and closer and closer, what would we do? So it's hilarious that he finally admits that this was not an unprovoked war. Oh, we had a draft agreement of how to prevent the war, but we wouldn't agree to it. Of course we want NATO to expand. We want to use Ukraine in order to provoke Russia and expand NATO. That's exactly what it is. So Zelensky will be in Washington. He's there asking for more money. I wonder if he'll do another big joint session of Congress. He'll hold up another Ukrainian flag. Everyone will sign it. He'll do a big thing. He'll wear his T-shirt in Congress.
And Sean Penn will get more proxy TV interviews.
Oh, yeah.
That's a weird, bromance.